Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Rainmaker Stories. The career path we're going to talk about today is that of a financial advisor or an asset management. Warren Buffett has most recently said that it is high time that women take up their right position in the investing world. If I talk about the numbers here, only 3% of investment funds are owned by women in the USA. Talking of numbers closer home, only 10% of SEBI registered RIAs in India are women. And I have one of those with me on the call today. Shruti Agrawal, she is the co-founder of CAGRwealth and CAGRfunds. Welcome, Shruti, on this episode of the Rainmaker Stories. I'm quite excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Nishtha. A very good morning to all the listeners. And it's a pleasure to be here and talking about something that's so close to my heart. Thank you once again.
Oh, that's great, Shruti. I hope the listeners and young professionals out there who want to pursue the field of financial advisory and management can get some useful tips and hacks from you. So I'll straight dive into the first question. So I've read your profile, Shruti. You started out as an investment banking professional and then moved to the field of financial advisory and asset management. So, how has been your journey, and what were some of the challenges that you faced through it all? And what would be your advice to young professionals who want to pursue this as a career field?
Right. So, I passed out of, I graduated in management in 2012, Nishtha. And at that point in time, I had no entrepreneurial visions, so to say. I was pretty happy, with a corporate career. And so what happened is, coming from a financial background, with CFA as a degree that I had, I was always helping friends and families with, the normal investment yarn that we keep giving people in our circles, right? And a lot of dinner conversations that we were doing with a lot of colleagues and friends was about, how can they optimize tax saving? Because we just started working at that point in time. So the awareness of these things was very low. A lot of people started telling me back that I sounded very passionate about the subject when I spoke about it. The way I tried to, explain things to people, break down things, or simplify things for people. And a lot of people, jokingly started telling me that I should take it up as a full-time career. Um, and because there was so much of there were so many people who were actually looking for some kind of help from a known person. I started doing it on the side, and I had two other partners at that point in time who were also interested in the same idea. So we did establish a full-time a company where both of them were partners, and I was pursuing it as a side thing because I wasn't at that point in time, I wasn't really clear about taking this up as a full-time thing. But as I started talking to more people, understanding more personal finance problems that people had, I started growing very fond of the subject. I have made my own mistakes in my investing journey when I started working, and I realized it's very common to make mistakes. It's very common to not know things, and somehow investing is a broad spectrum where one part of it seems very technical, very complex, too much about numbers and, yields and returns, which is not, it's not intuitive for everybody to understand that. And that is one reason why a lot of people shy away from that entire thing. So, I kind of got interested in breaking this down into a format which was simple for people. And that's how I came full time into it. So I agree a lot of people are not in this career of wealth management. And you were talking about the challenges that we faced as an early company. So I think, see, what happens is, everybody calls themselves a financial advisor. So somebody selling insurance would also call himself a financial advisor. Somebody selling real estate would also call himself a financial advisor, because at the end of the day, everybody is trying to sell some form of an investment. So what happens is there is no dearth of financial advisors or investment professionals in the country, and you would find one in every nook and corner of the city. The problem was that people still, despite the availability of so many advisors, you talk to anybody and everybody has some unanswered question about personal finance in their minds. Could be about things like, am I saving enough? Could be about, how do I really ensure that I'll have a comfortable retirement? It could be even things like, I want to start on my own, but I don't know if I should leave a lucrative job. Will I be comfortable in the future? Should I be taking this risk? So a lot of these financial queries are still there in the mind. And the problem is that a lot of trust deficit is there, right? Because India has historically been a very product centric industry, product push industry. So everybody would talk about products. So I think, but there's a lot of scope when we think of becoming advisors from a solution perspective, from a trust creation perspective. I think there's a lot of scope there. That is also a challenge that you face as a young company, because establishing that trust takes a lot of time. You need to gradually and slowly build that client pool who will trust you, know that you will still make mistakes, but you are acting in their best interest. It takes a lot of time. I think that was the gestation period of the business was a bit of a challenge. But I mean, it's been close to 7 years, and I have enjoyed working in this subject matter every single day. So I think this is a very, very interesting area to be in, especially because it's relevant to everybody who's making money or not making money.
Yeah, that is such a bang on thing to say, Shruti. I feel as long as you're passionate about a particular field, you don't have to listen to the naysayers and just go head on into what you want to do there.
Absolutely.
So, just linked to that, I was reading some statistics and they were quite abysmal, honestly. Like it talked about that there is this network FP, which is a pan India network of financial professionals, and it has only 16% of its members as women. Or there's research which today empirically shows that women as investment advisors, whether they do it in personal capacity or professionally, they give returns at par or even better vis-a-vis their male counterparts. Yet they do not get many assets to manage because of the gender bias which comes to the fore. So have you faced that challenge, and what would be your advice to women who want to enter this field? Because there is a dearth of role models for them to look up to today somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, see, I think this is a little like, women are not good at driving, it's a perception issue.
Yeah.
See, a lot of women don't step into this career also because it's a little bit of a societal conditioning thing. As we have grown up in let's say early 90s, we have seen in a lot of families, may not be individually, maybe there are families where the parents are working, but in a lot of families we have seen that the primary responsibility of being a breadwinner is on the man of the family, right? And most of the financial decisions are taken by the father or the men in the family. So even though the mother or the women in the family would be taking some decisions, the way girls are conditioned when they are young is more about stressing on stressing on the ability to know how to manage everything. So we are always told that we need to be super women. We need to manage a child. We need to manage home. We need to manage a family. We two families, and then we need to manage a career, if at all, right? So career comes probably last of all things. Whereas if you see how men are conditioned when they're young as boys, they are told about how studies are very important, how they need to have a career, and they're not taught a lot of other life skills that are also inevitable, right? So what happens is as you grow, your own ability to be confident about handling money is much lower, because you have never seen a scenario where women are doing better than men or are doing at par with men in terms of financial matters. So I see that discrepancy across the DNA of Indian society. And, I see, I mean, the number of families where women have taken financial decisions are extremely low as compared to the number of families where men have taken the financial decisions, right? And this is one reason why we don't choose wealth management as a career, because there is a perception that women are scared of numbers, where women are scared of complexity. I think that's not true. What women need more understanding. They are, in fact, a lot of my women clients are very, very risk taking, but they have become taking once they have been told about what risk they are taking, what exactly are they getting into. So once they are informed, they are in a much better position to take more informed decisions. I'm not saying they do better or worse than men. I don't think think investing is a gender subject at all. It's just that the number of women are definitely lower in the investing industry, and that is, I think, it's becoming more relevant now. A lot of women are now coming forward to manage their finances, but I think we are still a few years behind to a more equilibrium kind of a situation.
I think I bang on agree with you when you say when it comes to any life skill, it's nothing to do with gender, and we really need to go beyond that. If it's
Yeah.
whether you talk about home skills like cooking and doing laundry and those sort of things, or you talk about driving or investing, it has nothing to do with gender. People really need to just free themselves of these stereotypes. At the end of the day, the stock doesn't know who owns it. Like a rocket ship doesn't know who's sitting in it, whether it's a boy or a girl, a man or a woman. It really doesn't matter. So as
Yeah.
long as you understand those numbers and you have somebody trustworthy who can explain it to you in your language, I think it's very important that you take a handle on your own finances. So this leads me to my next question.
Absolutely.
So, post-COVID, we have seen that the female workforce participation rate for India has come down to as low as 9%, which is at par with a war-torn country like Yemen. And that's a very discouraging statistic to be talking about as professionals ourselves. But now that you're in the financial management industry, what would be your advice to women who are, let's say, stay at home for some reason or are primarily taking care of their families? How can they take a more active role in managing their finances?
I think it begins with staying involved, Nishtha. I think, I mean, I've grown up in families where I've seen that, women are not aware how many bank accounts are there, whether we have adequate health insurance, what does term insurance mean, what is LIC, what does it even mean, right? So I think it begins with at least knowing things like, what is the overall financial situation of the family, how much do you have for contingencies, are you adequately covered from a medical insurance perspective, life insurance perspective, what kind of numbers do you need to accumulate for primary goals like buying a property or funding education of a child. A lot of times what I have seen, and I'm talking about when I was young, the role of women was limited to the monthly budget management, right, of ghar kharcha, right? And I think we need to migrate away from that and think about family finances, because most of these goals are family goals, right? And if we are not involved, what I've also seen is that in families where financial future turns out to be comfortable, women don't realize what where they were involved or not involved. But in cases where the financial future does not turn out to be comfortable, in those cases the women feel really helpless after, say, they are 50, 55, 60, because then they can't do anything about it, right? The prime age of being involved financially has already passed away, and they feel that we don't have enough money, or we have to significantly curtail our lifestyle, and then they see everybody else and they feel that everybody else is doing better. So it's too late in the game to realize where you kind of fell behind. And they may not be taking active decisions. I mean, it's a matter of interest. So in some families men could be taking decisions, in some families women could be taking decisions, but I think it's more about being aware and involved. As long as that is happening, I think it's fine.
So this leads me to a related question. Like, irrespective of your gender or anything, like as an individual, how do you think that one can learn to manage money better and invest it in the right way to meet the life goals you just mentioned, like buying a house, kids' education, their marriage, or maintaining a certain lifestyle? Because in India, we have seen that often people don't realize it that they may be earning a cushy salary to start with, but they don't know how you need to budget your expenses. Are you saving enough? Or for your retirement, are you saving enough to meet those life goals? So, what is the right approach that individuals should follow?
So I think money management as a skill is continuously evolving, and there is no guru mantra to get it right the first time. I think we all make mistakes through the journey and learn from those mistakes. But I think, one thing that I have seen in my 7 years of talking to a lot of people, even people who have goals, they don't talk so much about goals. They talk about where can I invest, right? So a lot of people coming to me would say that, look, I've already invested in mutual funds, SIP तो चल रही हैं, अभी small case मैंने देखा, interesting लग रहा है, but tell me what do you think about crypto? So it's always about products, right? I've invested in ABC, now tell me what's the next XYZ that I can get into. The problem with that strategy is, even after 5 years, you don't know. And as more like salaried people, because we have limited resources to take care of our lives and, live a certain kind of a lifestyle that we visualize for ourselves. So what happens is, we don't know what does all this add up to, right? 30 years down the line, will it allow me an international travel every year, given that travel would cost something different at that point in time, right? Will it allow me to send my kid abroad for education if my kid chooses to go, right? So on and so forth. Also, a lot of people want to now retire early because they don't want to go through the grind of a corporate job. So a lot of people now don't talk about retirement at 60. A lot of people visualize a life where they wish they could come off a corporate job at 50. Interestingly, a lot of my female clients want to go to Himalayas and open a cafe, right? So they want to do their own thing. Everybody now, I mean, the passion about trying to pursue what you love to do is very different now, as compared to a parental generation where the responsibility factor was very high. People couldn't think of retiring before 60. Now the situation is very, very different. But to be able to do that, we need to start working. We need to start working towards it as soon as we start our jobs, right? Which is like 22, 23, 24. And I think that is where money management skills come in. That if you have goals of buying a house, a child's education fund, your own retirement, seed capital for your own business, car, or anything of that sort, you work backwards. So know what do you need to, when does that goal happen? What do you need to accumulate for that goal? And then work backwards towards how much do you need to save to ensure that you accumulate that much for your goal, right? When you do that math in your head, you will know whether or not I'm in a position to save that much. And then that will help you also take care of a lot of your behavioral money skills around expense management, budgeting, unnecessary spending, coming to realistic expectations of what kind of life you can live, right? So I think money management evolves with experience, but if people have goals in mind, starting from the goals, working backwards and taking into account things like how much risk can they take is very important. So just yesterday I posted on LinkedIn about a couple of messages that I got last week where people had invested in small case and equity mutual funds in 2020-21, and a couple of those people were young men and women who were wanting to pursue higher education and utilize that money for that. And now when it was time for them to fund the higher education, markets are down. So they are sitting at a 10-20% loss. So they are like, we had invested 2 lakhs and now it is 1 lakh 80, but I actually need 2 lakh 50,000. What do? I thought we'll make money and 2 lakh will turn 2 lakh 50,000. It doesn't work like that. I mean, markets don't work the way you think. You need to be, in the know-how of whether you are in a situation to take risk for something that you need in 1.5 years, right? So I think that understanding needs to develop together with some understanding of different products that are available. Tying this together, I think at least the money management journey can start, and then of course it will evolve.
Wow, I think that's bang on. You're right when you say that nobody can time the market.
Yeah.
That's a farce if you feel that no, I can time it, that buy low and sell high sort of a thing. So taking those decisions with a goal in mind, and of course weighting it with the risk and the kind of duration for liquidation that you're looking at makes a lot of sense and can actually help people to manage finances better versus taking those product wise decisions that let me just cover all the products in the world whether I understand them or not. So that's actually a very bad.
Right.
And what I also see, Shruti, today with the environment changing so much around us, I sense that there is a lot of fad investing also. People are like, I don't want to miss out on the crypto thing that is happening. And I don't want to miss out on maybe personal investments and people just running behind startups to fund them. So all those things are also happening. People without knowledge or with half-baked knowledge are just chasing different products currently versus doing goal-based investing. And this leads me to our last question for the series. So I've seen that there's now research also which actually talks about it, that women, because of their intrinsic nature also, they end up taking, more informed decisions. Or in one of the recent studies that showed that there were many like men who left out of their SIPs when the market started to fall. They were like, okay, let me like stop loss and book my whatever profits I can book right now. While there were women who stayed the course and were able to see the returns till the end, because they were not reactive to the news in the market. Like, they say that one of the best rules of compounding is that you should not disturb it unnecessarily. So women bring in that facet of patience into their investment journeys as well, if they're seriously looking at it. But on the other hand, if you see, especially in India, we have talked about this briefly as well, like only 1 in 8 women are taking their own financial decisions. The other 7 are only leaving it to the men in their lives. Or only 1 out of 4 investors in India in the stock market are women today. So, what would be your advice to women? Like, and here I would want you to focus specifically on women out there. Like, how can they be better investors, and how can they explore more wealth creation opportunities for themselves?
So, Nishtha, I don't think wealth creation and investing is a gender-driven subject at all, right? So there is no different methodology that women have to apply as
No, no,
compared
of
to
course.
men,
No, no, of course. What
right? So I totally disagree. When people say
No, I was saying, of course, I agree on it's not gender driven, but there's something which is stopping them today. You look at the numbers, right? Only 1 in 8 are actively doing it, 1 in 4 are in the stock market. So, what would be your sort of an advice, or something motivational, that it's okay, just like get out there, take it in your hands?
Yeah, so I think that you are right. Because when I had started so addressing women to take better charge of their finances is a very personal pet passion project that I have. And when I started talking to women, my perception was that the men are not encouraging enough for the women to take charge. While that may be true in some families, for most of them, I've seen that the women themselves have not taken efforts to take charge, right? I think mostly it is because they are very comfortable depending on the men in the family. And वो कर रहा है तो ठीक है ना, मतलब because it requires, I mean, if you have been too away from the money or numbers, or trying to understand these products, you've never read about these products, it takes a little bit of resistance. There's this little bit of normal human resistance to come out of your comfort zone, get deep into those products, those terminologies, understanding what it means for you. And that's the only reason why they don't do it. Otherwise, there is absolutely nothing that stops them from doing it. But to most of the women that I speak to, I tell them that this is not something that you may or may not have. If money is so critical to the kind of life we lead, it's very important to at least know the basics. It's very important to be involved. You might not be still taking investment decisions because you think that's not your competency. You might take somebody's help out for this. But still, I mean, at least being involved in those decisions is extremely important, and it's not difficult. I mean, and this is a responsibility that we as advisors also shoulder, to not make things complicated for women, right? And to break down things for women and simplify it. And the moment you talk about goals and you make it a personal finance solution basket, it does not seem so complicated like crypto and stocks. And I mean, because a lot of time women say that I don't know which stock to invest, I don't know how to start investing. You can very well start income instrument. You can start with mutual funds. It's very simple. There's so many platforms thanks to technology which encourage, robo advisory. So you can start there. If you think that you need professional service, there are advisors available, right? So I think it's only a mental blockage that's stopping them. There is no doubt of resources as of today. It's just it's a realization that women need to have, that this is something they need if they think of women empowerment and independence. No form of independence can be achieved without being financially independent, right? And financial independence cannot be achieved till the time you have an idea of what's happening to your mind.
I think
So I think that's a realization that people need to have. And once they have that realization, I think there are enough resources to leverage.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thought to end the discussion on. That no, your independence is not complete unless you're financially independent. And it doesn't matter how much money your family has, or people around, like, your people around you, your spouse or your father has. At the end of the day, at least knowing about your finances, even if you're not taking active decisions about it, being aware and being involved in some shape and form is the most important thing to get you started on that journey at least. So that has been a wonderful discussion with
Absolutely.
you, Shruti. Thank you so much, and hope all our listeners enjoyed the discussion too. Both on the side of people wanting to pursue it as a profession, and on the other side who want to start their journey of actively investing and actively managing their finances.
Thank you, Nishtha. I think you have kind of explored some very pertinent points, and these are discussions we keep having in our circles. But it's good that you are creating a platform where people can have access to discussions like this, because it clearly serves as a source of motivation for a lot of people. So thank you so much for having me on your series, and I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much, Shruti.
Thank you.